Well, once again, we have some very hard words from Jesus. If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother, etc., he cannot be my disciple. These are hard words. I know what you're thinking. Wait, we're Christians. We're not supposed to hate, especially if the fourth commandment says, honor your mother and father, and we're supposed to have charity towards all. So what's going on here? Because it is a very hard word. It's a striking word. And I think it can be safely said, Jesus is teaching his disciples and apostles that if you want to be a disciple of Jesus, he's first. We have to put Jesus first in our thoughts and in our actions and in our desires. At one point, as you know, some people approached our Lord and said, what's the most important commandment? What's the first commandment? And he said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your mind, all your heart, all your strength, and all your soul. But he doesn't leave it at that. He says, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. So the two sides of the same coin, love of God and love for others. And so how do you carry that out? I think you carry it out by making sure we put Jesus first every day. We had that in our talk at our monthly update, monthly retreat a couple weeks ago, that quote from St. Augustine, make sure you have some appointed time for prayer every day. Even if you feel when you're praying nothing's happening, you're giving that time to God and he will bless you and you will have the priority of God in your own life. It is compatible with whatever circumstances you might have. Whether you're commuting, whether you live in a monastery, whether you live in the north woods of Michigan, God is everywhere. He's certainly truly present in the Holy Eucharist. But we can find a time and a place to pray every day. We need that time. Some people go to Mass every day. That's a great thing. Some people spend time in adoration. Some people find other ways to pray. John Paul II, that great saint, said, my first duty is to pray. And he was probably the busiest man in the world. Every head of the state wanted to speak with him, and everyone who had something to sell wanted his endorsement. You know, he was being pestered all the time. You know, and he said, my first duty is to pray. And so what does it mean then to love others? It means to serve them by giving them time, by visiting them, by listening to them, giving them company, especially the elderly and those who are vulnerable. We have a wonderful example in many of the saints. One of my favorite saints is St. Teresa of Calcutta. We know how dedicated she was, and her nuns are, to taking care of the poorest of the poor. But first, they pray 3 hours a day. And she instructs her nuns, and if you're really busy, you should probably pray 4 hours a day. And it seems like, well, how does that work? That's where we get our strength. So what does it mean to love others as we love ourselves? I think our Lord points us in the direction of forgiveness. It is inevitable that you go throughout life without some kind of suffering or having been hurt or harmed in some way. It could happen at home, it could happen in business, it could happen on the expressway, it could happen wherever it is, right? That we get the short end of the stick. We could get angry. That's understandable. We could try to retaliate, or we can learn the path of forgiveness and to forgive others who have harmed us, even if they haven't asked for forgiveness. That's the height of sanctity. As Jesus being nailed to the cross, he looks up at the people pounding the nails and then says to Jesus, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they've got here, right? Forgive them. Really? And the Roman soldier who witnessed that said, truly, this is the Son of God. We all have those opportunities in our life. Jesus says, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. And if we can somehow figure out how to do that, we will find freedom. And we will be able to say honestly, Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I trust in you. Those words that St. Faustina taught us, they're really deep. I know it's only a few words, but until you get to that trust in Jesus, you won't have the freedom to forgive and to live with peace and joy in the middle of the world, because we won't actually trust in him. So when you trust in our Lord, that sets you free for forgiveness.